Hi, everyone. Welcome to my workshop on customer discovery, how to find customers, establish relationships, and understand customers. Uh, Today, I'm going to take you through basically how I have, what my experience was around interviewing customers for a startup, developing products in general, if you're a product manager or if you are just beginning your own business. Essentially, customer discovery is this idea that you talk to your customers, extract the information you need to develop a valuable product for those customers. So you don't have to take this lecture as the all and be all. Just here's what I did from experience and what worked. I'm going to tell you what worked and things that kind of don't work in general. So yeah, it's just what I did in general from my experience. And speaking of experience, I had a startup called Open Vessel for a year and a half. Obviously, it didn't blow up, but that's the nature of starting so many businesses and trying to get something off the ground. Today, I am a B2B product manager. It's also a SaaS app. You can log in, try it out for free. It's called Codebase KRM. And this is what I do for work basically is I work with developers, customers, UI designers, UX designers, marketing and branding people just to kind of bring a product alive and onto the same page where kind of listening to everyone, taking their feedback, and coming to essentially a compromise to get this into the customer's hands. All right. So, what is customer discovery? And this is going to be a step by step guide. I'm going to be painfully clear with you on what to do. We're going to find customers, establish a relationship, and then understand them. So here, I'm going to show you this workflow. Our customer starts on the left-hand side. And what most startups and small businesses do in general today is email people. And they email hundreds of people. Your average click rate or response might be like 10%. A lot of people get below that, and that's okay. What you need to do here in this instance is follow up with the email. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but you follow up with email every week until you get a response. And then after you get a response, you're going to email them back, set up a Zoom call, interview the customer, take notes, take your notes and put them inside a PDR. That is a product requirements document. And then stay in touch afterwards if you're kind of doing a startup. We're going to go over email, phone calls, and interviews. All of these things, if you are a technical founder, or computer science students might not have done these skills in general, but if you have, that's a great start. But you're going to feel, I would say, it'll be uncomfortable for you if you haven't done it. If you're just writing lines of code every day on your product and you're wondering why no one is using your software product, it's because you haven't done the outreach. You haven't made yourself uncomfortable. If you are an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, you're going to have to put yourself outside of your comfort zone and push yourself and be able to reach out with emails, phone call, and pitch and convince to get people to try the product out and give you honest feedback. There will be awkward pauses and you'll have moments where it's like, I don't know what to say next. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just you'll have those moments, and that's okay. And I'll teach you what you need to do later in the workshop. So when you send emails out, when you do phone calls, you're going to deal with a ton of rejection. And in my current job, I asked our account executive, he manages our customer relationships and interacts with customers. He's great. I asked him this question: how do you deal with rejection? Because he deals with that every day. He said it's nothing personal. Like if you email somebody and they didn't respond off the bat, don't sweat it. Follow up with another email because they're just busy. I get emails like that all the time, and I ignore them because I'm busy. Not that I wasn't interested, and maybe it's just not in the budget this year. It's just what it is. It's nothing personal. Nothing wrong with your brand. Nothing wrong with your website. Nothing wrong with who you are. It's just other people are busy. Keep your eye on a goal. So if you want to meet 3 to 5 customers this week, just think about that. If you feel rejected, just step back and reset really quickly. and it's okay. Uh, just go right back to it. Just step away, have a water, take a walk the dog, come right back and do it. And you just stay stable and you do the routine and do volume. The fact is that emailing 10 people isn't enough. You have to email 100, 200, 300 people. And there's free trials of like MailChimp or HubSpot that help you do this and keep track of everything in their software too. I mean, you can do it manually or with a little code, like some Python code, but you know, you need to do the volume. There's no way to get around it. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to email and get responses. Um, this is highly debated, but I'm going to just tell you what I did and what I think fundamentally works. You don't have to follow it, just try different things that you believe works for your customer. Um, I was in college when I did Open Vessel, so this is in the framework or the context of college. So here, what really worked well in college was this: to the experts of company XYZ or department XYZ. So, you know, you're emailing them saying, good morning, you know, I was interviewing the radiology department or trying to talk to the anthropology department at my college, or you try and talk to a company. Hi, I'm Leslie. I'm an undergrad at XYZ University. This one line, I am undergrad at university, gets your foot into so many doors. You have such a small time frame when you're in college to use this to meet professors and researchers who are working on the most interesting problems and are looking for basically younger people who want to get help with those problems and insight and credit. Credit's really important. Get credit for the things you do. As such, we're trying to learn more about the work of experts and real problems you face in your field. Oh, if you could find the time set up a short Zoom call with us, or please contact me, this email address or my phone number here. Sincerely, and then your name. So this stuff right here got us over like 35 interviews with radiologists in general, and we could just sit down with them and understand what they did and what their work life was like and what problems they had from their day to day. And how do you write a good email? It comes down to this: what does the customer value? Be as specific as possible, handcraft some emails, and it's about a reader and what they value. And you know, there's a lot of other basic stuff like being persuasive, organized, and clear, but fundamentally everything you write has to be valuable for a customer. This is a great video by I think it's he might be PhD Dr. McHenry or Larry here. He's a great teacher. Watch this video and you'll learn how to write valuably. You know, you'll write content. If after watching this video, you'll write content that people will open up and actually get things moving forward. And that's the thing, is people write emails that are just for everyone except segment of customers. And it's really good. Watch this. All right, here's another email. Greetings, you know, title plus person's name. If they have an MD in front of their name or CEO, things like that, just use the title. They appreciate it. I wanted to ask if you would be interested in sourcing work for our internship program. So here I'm offering free labor to the customer. Company is organizing internship programs in terms of XYZ field or industry. Company name is pursuing accreditation. I went to Penn State, students with the credits of work that we did this for Open Vessel was run an internship program. Low risk, no accountability. So our customer didn't have to worry about interviewing interns, didn't have to write the job posting, did not have to get them onboarded, did not have to give them coding tutorials or anything of that nature. They had no risk, low risk, no accountability. So, you know, that's very exciting. And what we want from them is to provide work for our interns that are meaningful and impactful projects. You know, it's just we're providing them labor with our internships. And then why? Explain why you're doing it. So specifically, we were interviewing doctors, and we said we want to service the medical system, build experience because we're mostly composed of undergrads at Open Vessel. Like, explain why you're doing it. Like, just be transparent with them, because otherwise, you don't want the person to think you have like alternative motives here. You need to lay out your motive and why, but you also need to give them value. Like, here, we're doing this, and this is valuable to you because you can do stuff you can't do otherwise without finding somebody. Warm regards, your name. So this one email actually helped us get 2 months of work over like 1,500 hours of work. We had full-time equivalents, and then we have on average like 35 hours, and then we have this open source repo. So just off of that one email, we had the opportunity to source so much work to try and basically train a model for their problem, if that makes sense. So what happens when you get no email responses, right? What should you do? You follow up the next week and you do it until they say no, just leave me alone. You'll be surprised by the fourth and fifth email. This really surprised me. It's like people like on the fifth email are like, yeah, sure, totally. It's just because they're busy and it's just nothing personal with you. It's just they probably read the third email and they forgot because they have a full-time job. You'll want to create a basic CRM. So I have this link that you just copy and paste, but like, you just put the name of the customer, the industry, the website, last time you contacted them, the decay rate, like I contacted them like 7-8 days ago. Did we do a demo? Did they want a free trial? Is this a win or loss? This is like, you just make your own CRM. You don't have to pay for HubSpot unless you have the money. But if you're frugal and you're just a startup, just do that. Use Google Sheets. All right. So if they say yes, I can help, or I want to buy, which is not usually what is going to happen, is that you're going to email them back immediately. You give them a Zoom link. You offer them the times to pick up from and ask them, does this time work for you? So you're going to take the lead. Just don't waste your time. Bad emails before I move on to phone calls. I got this email for like a Shopify store I did, and I get like 10 emails like this. They all are sort of the same, is that they're very vague and they're like, hey, this is elite sales. It's like, okay, who's elite sales? I need a person, I need a face. It didn't say, hi, Leslie Wubble. It just said, hi, and then they make these vague terms about like I recently had a chance to see your online store, products are amazing, just very non-specific. So the problem with this email is that one, it's talking about sales. Like I do find sales to be valuable, but it's non-specific, and I know it's just an automatic general message, and I'm not going to respond to it because I got like 8 of these, and it's like, unless somebody went to my store and said, hey, we saw your t-shirts, we think we can improve these t-shirts, that will make me respond a lot more than this, generalized email. Okay, now I'm going to tell you how to handle phone calls. It should be 2 minutes max, shouldn't be very long. Hi, I am blank. I'm an undergrad at XYZ University. If you're not an undergrad anymore and you're out of college, just say, I am a founder. I am a software engineer. I'm trying to do research. I'm looking to get in touch with you about your industry, XYZ. Would you have 60 seconds? If they say no, just go to the next person. It's nothing personal. They say maybe, call me in a few hours or next week. Write that down in your CRM. Call them back by that time. They say yes, I can talk. Okay, you're going to respond. We're trying to learn more about the work of experts and real problems you face in the field of XYZ. Would you be able to have a Zoom interview on Zoom or in person to meet with my team? If yes, I can meet in person. Great, thank you so much. What time works for you? Can I get your email so I can send you the details? Okay, so that's how it should work on phone. It should take 60 seconds. If they're interested in talking, you can have a conversation on the phone right there, but you want to get them in an interview or a Zoom call. Basically, you're finding a customer, you're going to sit them down for an interview, and you say, okay, set up a meeting time and a place or on Zoom, and you'll send them all the details in the follow-up email. And finally, you should also do this. It's like, go knock on doors, go in person. If you've done political canvassing, like walking around handing out flyers, like do that. Say you're doing a survey, or I'm trying to start a business. Just be straight up with them, like, hey, I'm trying to start a business and I'm trying to sell these customers. Can you help me? Just ask people for help. Go to local businesses, call them, ask, hey, can I talk to the manager sometime? I'm working on this or something. Maybe they have the time, maybe they don't. Just don't take it personal. People are just busy in general. Now I'm going to talk about interviewing customers. One thing I tell everyone is stop pitching your ideas or solutions. When you interview a customer, you're not there to sell them on your idea or people like to design products and build products first and then bring them to customers, and they found out that product is essentially useless to customers and they're like shocked, but it's like kind of obvious because you didn't ask thing you're building for somebody what they wanted. So what you need to do is just listen to customers, like straight up stop talking and start listening. And I'm going to go over specifically how do you listen to customers. So a great way to do interviews is to ask open-ended questions. What that means is basically is that you ask, what are you working on? Do you have any problems with your data? What is your most time consuming and costly problem? What can I do to help and apply AI? Okay, so if you have a startup and you're using AI here and you're just asking open-ended questions, you can fill in the blank really. You can be like, what is XYZ? Why do XYZ? How often do you do XYZ? What can we do to help? What do you do XYZ? Who does XYZ? Don't make your questions complicated. Keep your questions simple in the beginning and save complicated questions for the second and third meeting with customers. Where does XYZ happen? Always forget that one. What are some bad questions? Some people say there's no such thing as bad questions, but there is when you're trying to have a startup or build a product, is that you have this habit of believing that your idea is going to be basically it, right? And you start to ask leading questions because you already have this idea of what the product should be, and asking leading questions is really bad. Like you go, don't you think ChatGPT can help? It can solve it like this. It's not a very productive conversation because you're not really asking a question. You're just insinuating or saying like, hey, just you're throwing stuff at the wall for them. You're not really talking about what their problem is, what they have as a problem. Have you tried XYZ? Start pitching aggressively. If you're just bitching, again, it's bad. So you think Y, so you must believe Z. So you're insinuating something. People do this all the time in debates and political discussions with people, and they just say, they think if they believe Y, they must believe Z, but that's not always true for that person. Don't do that with customers. It's really bad. You need to apply active listening. Active listening is just this. You listen closely, and then in your mind, you ask yourself, do you understand what they're saying? And if you don't, if you just listen to them for 2-3 minutes straight and you go, I don't understand, you need to ask them again. Ask them to explain it again. And they'll go, so it's XYZ, is that right? So you'll listen to them and you'll be like, okay, so it's this, is that correct? It's kind of like you're just making sure you're kind of correcting the fact that whatever they said, you understood it correctly. And then you kind of move on from there with the conversation. So the point of active listening, why it's so important to do, is to get people to open up. It's just asking like, did I get this right? And when you take notes, you want to make sure that whatever they said is accurate, is on paper. You can elaborate further on what they said. So we're going to talk about reflective listening, and a customer will be talking about something and they'll go, really love X, Y, Z, and about this and that. And they're passionately talking about whatever, ask them in the beginning as an open-ended question, like, why do you love X, or what do you hate about it? And you respond with, so you really love X. What's special about X? That's reflective listening. Allow them to speak, and then you will take notes. Why you need to do reflective listening? It allows you to echo back to the speaker what you've just heard, ensuring they feel understood. I can't emphasize this enough, but so many people in the world feel misunderstood, or people are not even trying to understand their version of reality and their experience. um, this is what I specialize in as a product manager and as a startup founder, is that I'm making sure I listen and I make sure they feel understood in the interview. I'm applying reflective listening. So it's that simple fact. Like, why do I do it? Why should you put energy into understanding someone and making sure they feel understood? Well, the thing is, it works. It makes people spill the beans, and they'll talk more about that in a second. Is that people are less inclined to engage with you in deep conversation if they feel that you're not genuinely trying to understand them. If you show willingness to grasp reason A, they will reveal reason B, C, D, and Z. And all those reasons right there should tell you what you should code for your, startup, or design for your piece of hardware. You know, it just it's you get a richer information, more valuable insight to why people want something built a certain way. Because customers are frustrated and they're not being heard, basically. And the police use this. Believe it or not, you might think like the police are aggressive. They are interrogating you. If you ever get arrested, you're not going to be yelled at for the most part, unless they're really bad police. But basically, good police interrogation, they don't yell at you. They get you a coffee, actually, and they'll buy you your favorite fast food or whatever. And they'll tell you, oh, I'm a police officer. What's your preferred name? If your preferred name is like, I don't know, Pennywise, it's something, whatever you have as a name, they'll use your preferred name to get you comfortable and to get you relaxed. And they'll talk slow and they'll give you space and they'll relax. And they'll use reflective listening to basically to get you to spill the beans about whatever crime you might have committed, or hearsay there and that and evidence. So in sales, the best salespeople, especially coworker Austin, they listen to customers. They don't pitch, they don't sell anything, they understand problems, they build trust, and they find solutions. We have a misunderstanding of what sales should be. I've been in really bad sales calls where a salesperson is just shoving the product down my throat, and they haven't heard a single thing I've said the whole time. And I'm just like, I'm out. I don't care. I've been hard sold before, and it doesn't feel great. People are sold all the time. But it's like, if I came to you, this is kind of the bare minimum respect that you need to give to people, is that you don't pitch them, you understand their problems, and you build trust. And really good salespeople, that's all they do. They're not trying to sell anything to you, they're just listening. And you know what? If you don't qualify as a customer, that's a good thing. You don't want to waste time on a problem you cannot solve. You just move on to the next customer. You just say, hey, we can't solve this. You need a different solution, and that's okay. And you move on. So a good interview should take about an hour to 2 hours. You'll be left with more questions than answers. You should be leaving that interview wondering about whatever they said and what needs that, and setting up the next meeting will be so easy. You send the email, they respond really fast, and they're happy to see you. A bad interview, excuse me, is 10 to 20 minutes. Customer is quiet the whole time. If you're talking 90% of the time in the interview, you're doing a terrible job. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your team, or you talk too much, you're pitching your product. If you're pitching what your product does, that doesn't help with the problem. You need to be asking, what is their problem? What are they trying to fix? In that interview, you need to take notes. Take note of what they're saying. Ask them, what do they want to see on the screen and what happens on the screen. Ask them, what do they value? Now, you've got some notes, and I've been asked, how do you take these notes and how do you translate them to an idea, or let's say a software product? And that's where I come in as a product manager. Here's a quote by Steve Jobs I like to give software developers, is that people and startup founders, there's this disease, Steve Jobs says, is that people think 90% of the work for starting a business is the idea. It is not that. You do have good ideas, you do have great ideas, but that is not 90% of the work. You are going to have to fundamentally go out there and make the idea become reality. And people tend to forget that. I'm going to take you through a mock interview. I had an interview with a farmer here, egg farmer. He told me, I have a flock of layer hens, and I sell their eggs. So he's in the farming industry, and then he's in the sub niche of, like, selling eggs and raising chickens and hens. Lately, I've been getting a lot of orders, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of all the available and pending ones. So that's his pain point. You want to write that down in your notes. I was wondering if anyone could suggest an app that can help me manage this. So when they say, like, help me, like, what do they want help with? And okay, managing. Okay. So if we were in an interview right now, just imagine, what would you say to our farmer? Just take a second. Some people might say, so how do you manage eggs currently? Why do you do this? Or where are you doing this? Where are you collecting these eggs from? Where are you collecting this data? There's so many open-ended questions you can ask at this point. Let's say you ask a really good open-ended question, the farmer will respond with some good feedback. Yeah, I think ideally it would keep track of the egg supply, forecast sales, estimate when the eggs for a new order will be ready. I'm looking for something on Android that can help me schedule upcoming orders so I can give my customers a reliable pickup date. And then thanks in advance for any recommendations, blah, blah. Okay. So what the customer just gave us in red, I highlighted, is gold. That's just gold. And the thing with gold is when you mine it, it needs refinement. We need to take this gold we got from customers. You're going to take notes from every single interview you've done and put it into gold. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. You're going to write user stories. Basically, you're going to take a line the user said, okay, user keeps track of the current egg supply. Okay, it's just a one-line description. You're going to have a conversation about this index card, and then you're going to write down your confirmation about your conversation. So, you write out a bunch of these cards from your interviews. A user keeps track of the egg supply. User wants to estimate eggs for new orders, upcoming schedule. You have a bunch of these cards, and then you take this card, and as a team, you work with other developers, software developers, UI designers, and as a team, you talk about how would this work. And in the conversation with your team, this is probably the most rewarding and fulfilling part of any startup or software company or team, is discussing, like, okay, keep track of current egg supply. Where does the data come from? That's a question your developer might ask. Current egg supply. Why is that not the total egg supply? What is this supposed to look like, you might ask. Constantly ask yourself and meditate on this question. Why does this matter? Why does this index card, this user story matter? Does the customer really care about this? And just iterate over that. So let's talk about that first question. Where does the data come from? So if I want to keep track of all the eggs that are being laid in a farm, let's say they end up in a bin here, and then this IoT device is measuring the weight of the whole bin and every egg that ends up in the bin, and then that data is sent to a server somewhere. So your developer might need to query an API or a custom server, or you need a piece of hardware to kind of count how many eggs are showing up into the bin. Current egg supply. What is the total egg supply? Okay, I could have more than one bin, for instance. So I could have like 10, 20 bins in this farm. And so I have 1,000 eggs, 200 eggs, 300 eggs. So that means we need to add all these eggs up into a total. That'll tell me how many eggs are in the farm in total. And then you need to ask yourself, what does this look like? So you'll start sketching on paper or Figma. You'll sketch a wireframe. This is where UX designer would kind of give you some drafts of what this egg collecting app, egg management app, egg farmer app, whatever we might call it excellent or something. And then you might like do some draft wireframes. Okay, total egg supply, 1,500 eggs. Okay, we iterate it. The UI designer gives us the better design. And then you ask yourself, okay, so does this number dynamically update every time? Every time a chicken lays an egg, do we count that to the total egg supply? If I was the customer, I would want that to happen. I want to know how many eggs I have in total, right? So really what a user story does for you, why it's so important, is that you have this conversation that we just had, those 3 slides. We had a big conversation with the whole team. And then that conversation goes into the PRD, the product requirements document. And this product requirements document is really important. Executives will use it. The UI designer and graphic designers will use it. Salespeople will use it to create marketing material and content-driven stuff, SEO, whatever it is. And then software developers fundamentally need to understand what they're building. I've been a part of a lot of teams where we have no idea what we're building. We don't have a PRD, and we have to start from scratch and talk to customers because we started on this project and the scope wasn't defined at all. There's so many situations where you'd be put into that. Now, what I want to share with you guys today is this is free resource. This is a template for you guys. It's just a mini PRD. It's not a full PRD. A PRD can be a really long document, but here we're going to go over this really quickly. So that user story we just had, we took all the notes, right? Our user wanted so many stuff. That farmer wanted so much stuff. So we're going to open this up and take a look. Okay, let me zoom in. So a PRD will have some version control, the date, and then the author's name. Like my name will go right here. You want to write about what's the purpose for this. Like if I make this excellent app, like was it for? Well, it's to help farmers manage their farm, right? Their egg supply. What's the benefit for the customer? What does customer value? What makes a good user experience? I recommend reading this book. It's called Don't Make Me Think by Stephen Crud. Really great book to help you do great UX design. When you write user story steps, when I write a user story or an epic for developers, you want to be explicit and specific as much as you can. So in Figma here, I designed a draft of our farm egg app here. So we have a total egg supply. We have a projected sales because you want to project sales per quarter, and a calendar to help him schedule, and then this table to tell him whether or not eggs are ready to be shipped out in a bin. So here our customer wants to keep track of current egg supply, and then a developer might write some notes like, okay, we need to get data from IoT devices. All right, if we have to forecast sales, well, is this a bar chart? Is this, what does that kind of look like? So as a team or just in your own head with your imagination, you'll kind of sketch these things out and imagine like, okay, what UI component, what React component do I need, and when do I need to query that API data on the back end? They see a table of egg lots arrays ship green, and they fill or not fill in red. So estimate when the eggs for a new order will be ready. So here I've created this table where we have an egg lot. So every bin that's on the farm is labeled to the ID, and then we have the status, not filled, ready to ship, not filled, ready to ship. And then kind of like 800 out of 1,000. And then our customer here. So maybe it's a small business that's buying stuff, or just a restaurateur. And finally, I want you guys to try this last question where what will happen next if you click ready to ship? Help me, imagine the next step. So my egg farmer wants to email his customer that his eggs are ready to pick up. So hi guys, thank you for getting to the end of this video. If you could subscribe or check out my website, that would be the biggest help possible. I also offer a one-on-one consulting session where if you have a problem with your startup or your business, I can kind of get deep and kind of give you some advice from my own experience about what you should do next. So it's free. Check it out. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.